board here that is going to be here, so we'll start the meeting. This is the regular meeting of the Waterloo Board of Adjustment for Tuesday, June 27, 2017. First item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. Is there someone that would like to make that motion?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. After the approval of the agenda, we have the approval of the May 23rd minutes of the meeting. Do I have a motion to accept those?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, this afternoon we have 4 discussion items, or decision items, and the first one is a request from Buell Consulting for a special permit to allow for the construction of a 109-foot major significance cellular communications tower, say that real fast, within an M1 light industrial district located at 1050 Sheffield. Do we have a report?
This is Western with staff. As far as the impact on surrounding neighborhood and surrounding land uses, all the surrounding properties are zoned industrial and have industrial uses on them, with the exception of one home that is located directly to the east. However, the request would not appear to have a negative impact on the area. The site is served by Sheffield Avenue, which is classified as a local street. The proposed location of the communication tower would not appear to cause a negative impact on traffic conditions in the area, as the tower will be located to the southeast corner of the property, adjacent to a rarely used gravel street. The zoning history, the entire area has been zoned M1 light industrial since the adoption of the ordinance, and is surrounded primarily by salvage yards. The City of Waterloo zoning ordinance requires major significant towers go through the Planning and Programming and Zoning Commission for recommendation to the Board of Adjustment. That's similar to a special permit. The zoning ordinance requires that new towers and commercial zoning classifications be designed with camouflage, which would include a monopole tower with flush mount antennas. The proposed tower is 109-foot monopole tower with a height of 100 feet to the top of the highest antenna pertinence. The tower would hold multiple antenna arrays, the primary one being for Verizon Wireless. The base of the tower would have a 25-foot by 40-foot fenced area to protect the tower and equipment, which includes a 12-foot by 20-foot equipment shelter building and a 35-kilowatt generator on a 4-foot by 7-foot concrete pad. The site will be accessed by an existing drive and gravel parking area. The applicant has indicated that they are proposing the tower in order to provide better coverage along 218 highway and the 380 corridor in Waterloo and surrounding area. The area is currently served by other Verizon facilities in Waterloo, including facilities downtown and near Crossroads Mall. Demand on the network has grown exponentially and will continue to grow for the foreseeable future. To increase capacity, new facilities such as this one being proposed need to be built. All other requirements from the cell tower appear to be met based on the fact that the tower would be located on property that is zoned M1 light industrial and would be located on a large 3-acre lot. The request would not appear to have a negative impact on the area. At the May 2nd, 2017 Planning and Zoning Commission monthly meeting, the Commission unanimously recommended approval of the request as submitted. Therefore, staff recommends the request for a major significance communications tower be approved for the following reasons. The request would not appear to have a negative impact on the neighborhood or traffic conditions in the area. The request is in conformance with the future land use map and comprehensive plan. The new tower would be located over 332 feet from the nearest residential dwelling lot, which would be more than twice the tower height from any 1- and 2-family dwelling lot. 109 feet times 2 equals 218. The nearest dwelling lot is 332 feet away. And subject to the following condition, that the final site plan meets all applicable city codes, regulations, etc., including but not limited to parking, landscaping, drainage, and etc.
Does anyone on the board have a question of staff? Straightforward. Is anyone in the audience here that'd like to speak for or against the request? Second time, seeing none. Looks like we're ready for a vote. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
There you go. Make a motion to approve the request for a significance communication tower to be approved for the following reasons. The request does not appear to have a negative impact on the neighborhood or traffic conditions in the area. The request is in conformance with the future land use map and the comprehensive plan. The new tower will be located over 332 feet from the nearest residential dwelling, which would be more than twice the tower height from any 1 to 2 family dwelling lot. And subject to also the following, that the final site plan meets all applicable city codes, regulations, including but not limited to parking, landscape, drainage, etc.
A second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor signify, or I guess, is there any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. That passes. We have another cell tower. The next item on our agenda is a request by Nagel Signs on behalf of Westminster Church for a variance to the self-illuminating flashing part sign regulation to allow for the replacement of an existing 30-square foot digital sign with a new 28 square foot self-illuminating sign in the R2 1 and 2 family residential district at 1301 Kimball Avenue. Staff report.
This is Western with staff again. The site in question is located on Kimball Avenue, north of Carolina Avenue, south of Byron Avenue. The property is zoned R3, multiple residence district, and has been zoned such since the adoption of the ordinance. Surrounding properties are also zoned R3, multiple residence district. The site is predominantly surrounded by residential uses with the exception of First United Brethren Church immediately to the north. The request would not appear to have a negative impact on the surrounding neighborhood as the sign is approximately 190 feet from the north property line and 221 feet from the southern property line. Also, the existing sign has been in place since 2005 without any complaints. The request would not appear to have any negative impact on traffic in the area. The applicant is proposing to remove an existing 30 square foot red LED sign with a new 28 square foot full color LED sign. The staff would note that there are many other similar signs that are located in residentially zoned areas such as West High, Lowell Elementary, Westminster Church, and the Waterloo Schools Administration Building, all zone R3 multiple residence district. Also Central Christian Church, zone R2 1 and 2 family residence district, and Hoover Middle School, zone R1 1 and 2 family residence district. All signs have existed for many years without any negative impact or complaints from surrounding property owners. Criteria: lack of reasonable return. The existing sign is reaching the end of its expected lifespan and needs frequent repairs, and parts are becoming increasingly more difficult to find. Also, the upgraded sign will provide greater flexibility in programming and increased visibility. Uniqueness: churches and schools are usually zoned residential and provide a community gathering space for the immediate neighborhood. This Kimball Avenue neighborhood has a uniquely high traffic count of 5,000 plus per day, and the modification of an existing backlit sign will allow the church to communicate church events and neighborhood-specific announcements more effectively. There are many examples of digital message centers in similar situations throughout the city. Public considerations: staff has no objections or concerns on file. Therefore, staff recommends that the request by Nagel Signs on behalf of Westminster Presbyterian Church for a variance to the self-illuminating flashing parts signs regulations in the R3 multiple residence district to allow for the installation of a 28 square foot self-illuminating sign located at 1301 Kimball Avenue be approved for the following reasons. The request would not appear to have a negative impact on the area. The sign has existed since 2005 without any complaints. The sign is an important tool for keeping members of the congregation and the public aware of the many programs and public events offered by the church. And subject to the following condition, that the rate of change of the digital sign be restricted to a rate deemed acceptable by the Board of Adjustment to limit the impact of rapidly flashing light on adjoining properties.
I have a question.
Okay.
Deemed acceptable by the Board of Adjustment.
Yeah, we had that question last month as well.
Okay, well, if I wasn't here.
We decided that, the reason we left that in there is because each situation is different. The one on Hammond was close to a house, and we restricted that more than we have the others because we didn't want to flash on the house. So your standard rate of change was what, every 30 seconds, Eric? I think Mason's, yeah, it can go every 5 seconds and go every 2 minutes, 5 minutes. So in this particular area, pretty high traffic count, no houses really that close. You could allow as low as every 5 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever you think will
Are we
work.
using that right now?
Yeah, generally, they said with the churches that they don't, they don't have that quick turnaround.
Correct.
So,
I think last month, the one on across from the school board, didn't we just eliminate that completely?
Correct.
Yep.
Okay.
Eliminate this
That whole sentence.
submission?
subject to,
Oh, I see.
Not acceptable, had nothing to do with the Board of
So-
Adjustment.
yeah, because it was a mute point. They were going to, I think that was the one they were going to
Right.
longer.
The Hammond one was
span.
unique.
We kind of always want to generate the discussion, especially if there's any resident opposition.
Okay.
Any other complaint? Or objection,
Any
I should say.
complaints on this one?
Nope.
Okay. Does anyone in the audience like to speak for or against this request? Come up and give us your name and your
Scott
company.
Kane with Nagel Signs. I'm here to represent the church. They weren't able to make it tonight, so I'm just here to answer any questions that you guys might have about the unit.
So this is just basically a replacement, and it's going to be
Yeah,
more
what it is,
updated.
just newer technology, newer LED board, it's reached its lifetime. It's harder to get parts, and going from red monochrome to a full color, and so they can put better graphics and images on it.
Does anyone have any questions?
I don't.
No. Mm-mm. It's pretty
Okay,
straightforward.
thank you very much. I guess we're ready for a motion then.
A motion to approve the request by Nagel Signs on behalf of Westminster Presbyterian Church for variance to the self-illuminating flashing part sign regulations in the R3 multiple family resident district to allow for the installation of a 28 square foot self-illuminating sign located at 1301 Kimball Avenue for the following reasons. The request would not appear to have a negative impact on the area. The sign has existed since 2005 without any complaints, and it's an important tool for keeping members of the congregation and the public aware of the programs and events offered by the church.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the request. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We have approved that request also. Okay, the third item on our agenda is a request by Heartland Vineyard Church for a one-year temporary variance to the hard surfacing requirements for vehicular use area to allow for a chip seal surfacing located at 3211 Titan Trail. Staff report.
Western with staff. The property in question was rezoned from M2P Planned and Heavy Industrial District to BP Business Park District on 3/3/2008. The properties to the east across US Highway 63 are Zone M1 Light Industrial District. The remaining properties adjacent to this property are Zone BP Business Park District. The Candale Church is the current owner of the site and is working to sell the property at 3211 Titan Trail to Heartland Vineyard Church and then purchase the current property owned by Heartland Vineyard Church at 1405 Green Hill Road. essentially swapping properties. As a part of the special permit request, Candeo Church requested a 3-year temporary variance to the hard surface provision of the zoning ordinance to allow them to use chip seal or another cost-effective surface. The Board of Adjustment unanimously approved the request at the May 29, 2014 Board of Adjustment monthly meeting with the conditions that if the use ceases or the property is sold, the parking area must be removed or properly hard surface. The existing paved parking area consists of 32 parking spaces. The chip seal area is approximately 1 acre with 255 parking spaces for a total of 288 spaces. The parking requirements for a church call for 1 parking stall for each person's maximum occupancy of the sanctuary, auditorium, or main hall. The auditorium has a maximum occupancy of 670 persons. Therefore, the number of parking stalls required is 168, which would appear to be met. Criteria: lack of reasonable return. There does not appear to be a lack of reasonable return upon the property, as the applicants could construct a vehicular area with appropriate hard surfacing. Denial of the variance would not appear to deny a reasonable return to use the property. Uniqueness: there does not appear to be a uniqueness to the request, as there are no physical barriers, just monetary considerations that prevent the parking lot from being properly hard surfaced. Public considerations: the request for a 1-year variance would not appear to have a negative impact on the area, as the non-conforming parking lot has existed for 3 years without any issues. Therefore, staff recommends that the request by Heartland Vineyard Church for a 1-year temporary variance to the hard surfacing requirements for vehicular use area to allow for chip seal servicing located at 3211 Titan Trail be approved for the following reasons. The request would not appear to have a negative impact on the neighborhood, as the area is primarily commercial in nature and is zoned for business park. The request for a 1-year variance would not appear to have a negative impact on the area, as the non-conforming parking lot has existed for 3 years without any issues. And subject to that if the use ceases or the property is sold, that the parking area be removed or hard service to meet the City of Waterloo hard servicing standards, and that sidewalks are constructed along all street frontages.
Okay, do we have any questions of staff?
So the sidewalk would be on 2 sides?
Correct.
I don't know which way, north and east?
Yeah, it'd be along site, let's see, north and
Is it
west.
west?
Mhm.
And the church is agreeable to this, or they even know about it?
I don't, have you talked?
This is Schrader with staff. An app representative may be out here. I'm not sure if the applicant church is aware about that, but it was a condition of the approval of Candeo Church and really should have already been done by now. I don't know why it has not been done, but they're in the middle of the process of trying to sell. So as long as the applicants are made aware of that and they work that out between the buyers and the sellers as to who's paving that sidewalk, but that was the one side was actually a requirement of the deed of dedication, and the original owner before Candeo Church purchased it failed to comply with the requirement to put the sidewalk in there. And then when Candeo Church went in, it was a condition that they put in the sidewalk that the original owner was supposed to have along that street and place it on the other side. And then there was agreement put in place regarding sidewalk having to be installed as the road was further extended to the west, which the road has now been, or southwest, I guess I would call it, which that road has now been extended.
Okay.
Is there anyone in the audience that'd like to speak for or against this variance? Seeing none, there's no one here from the church? Oh, you are? Okay. Are they aware of the sidewalk requirement?
I don't think so. I don't think they're aware of the sidewalk requirements, so, but, you know, you pass the variance and,
That's what they'd have to do.
yeah, and that's what's out there. I guess I don't understand, are you saying the sidewalks need to be constructed now, prior to the hard surfacing, or be constructed at the end of the 1-year period?
This is Schrader with staff. I guess that could be open to the Board of Adjustment as part of the approval. That may be acceptable to basically give them a year to get the sidewalk in as well. That may be something that, assuming that the transaction has not occurred yet, that Heartland Vineyard would want to have a discussion with Candeo Church, because that was the condition when Candeo Church got the approval to go in there, that the sidewalk along Cyclone Drive was supposed to be put in immediately, and then the along Titan Trail was, I don't know if part of it was immediately and the other part when the road got extended, which the road has now been extended, but you know, the part, for sure, the part on Cyclone Drive, I mean, should have been put in many years ago. At this point, you know, I don't think from a staff standpoint we wouldn't object to, you know, the condition being made more clear that, you know, the sidewalk could be delayed up to that same year time frame, but it might be something that the applicant may want to look into.
Now, they do intend then after a year to hard surface.
Yeah, that's the plan. I mean, they've just acquired it, and trying to figure out their exact use of the building and putting together their plans for that. I don't know if they'll need a year, but it just, with the timing of the acquisition, we knew it was going to hit prior to the variance was going to expire prior to them being ready to put their parking lot in.
And there's no other buildings by this site, is there? Adjacent right now?
There's a couple that have gone in, hasn't the
Yes.
Hawkeye?
Yeah, Hawkeye Stages built a facility directly to the southwest, and Love's Travel Stop is
Well,
building
Love's
to the
is
south
going-
of them.
Yeah. But if we delayed the sidewalk for a year, it's still growing out there, yeah.
It's not a lot of foot traffic out there
Yeah.
coming
Not
from
yet.
63. But
Do you have any more questions of Eric? I assume that we're ready for a...
Okay, I move that we grant the Heartland Vineyard request for a 1-year temporary variance to the hard surfacing requirements for vehicular use area to allow for a chip sealed surfacing located at 3211 Titan Trail. And that is, so for the following reasons, that the request does not appear to have a negative impact on the neighborhood and is in primarily commercial in nature and zoned for a business park. The request for a 1-year variance would not appear to have a negative impact on the area, as the non-conforming parking lot has existed for 3 years without any issues. And this would be subject to that if the use ceases or the property sold, that the parking area be removed or a hard surface to meet City of Waterloo hard surfacing standards, and that the sidewalk is constructed on all street frontages within that 1-year period also.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
And do we have any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. We have a new parking lot and sidewalk. Our last item on the agenda is a request by Jeff Nielsen for a variance to place an 18 by 30 accessory structure 5 foot into the required front yard and to exceed the maximum accessory square footage of 1,800 feet by 376 square feet, and a variance to allow for a metal-framed carport type structure located at 930 West Downing Street. Do we have a staff report?
The property is located between Burton Avenue and Avon Street. The site in question is zoned R2, 1 and 2 family residence district. It has been zoned as such since the adoption of the ordinance. Properties to the north, south, and east and west are also zoned R2, 1 and 2 family residence district. The request may not have a negative impact on the area. The area does have large lots that average from 1 to 2 acres, which would appear to minimize the potential negative effect of the request. However, staff is concerned that the approval of the request to construct a garage 5 feet into the required front yard could set a precedent. The request to have 536 square feet over the maximum detached accessory structure square footage may not have a negative impact on the area due to the large lots in the area. However, staff is concerned that the approval of the request could set precedents. And lastly, approval of the request for a variance to the metal frame structure with canopy top may also set precedents. The request would not appear to have negative impact on traffic conditions in the area. The applicant began constructing the 18-foot by 30-foot detached accessory structure without a permit and received a stop work order on the project. The city inspector notified the applicant that he did not have a permit and that the use of the used lumber that he was using does not meet code and would have to be replaced with green treated lumber. The request may not have a negative impact on the area due to the large lots that average 1 to 2 acres, which would appear to minimize the potential negative effects of the request. However, staff is concerned that the approval of the request to construct a garage 5 feet into the required front yard and approval of a metal frame structure could set precedents. The request to have a 530 square feet over the maximum detached structure square footage may not have a negative impact on the area, also due to the large lots in the area. However, approval of the request for a variance to exceed the maximum square footage of detached structures may also set precedent. The existing metal frame structure may have been constructed prior to the amendment of the ordinance, making it legal. Well, that would actually be, if it was constructed prior to the amendment, it would have been, making them illegal within the city of Waterloo limits. However, there does not appear to be a permit on file. Therefore, the structure would be illegal. Staff is concerned that the request to legalize the metal frame structure may also set precedents. The structure could only be considered a legal non-conforming structure if it were documented that it was legally built, including building permit, prior to the adoption of the amendment. Regulation metal frame carports was passed by ordinance on 9/20/2004. It would appear that multiple structures have been built or started to be built without first obtaining a building permit, and multiple structures do not meet various building code requirements. Criteria: lack of reasonable return. There would not appear to be a lack of reasonable return to the request, as the applicant could move the structure back 5 feet or make smaller to be in compliance. Staff is concerned that approving the request could set precedents. The request to have 536 square feet over the maximum detached accessory structure square footage may not have a negative impact on the area, also due to large lots in the area. However, approval of the request for a variance to exceed the maximum square footage of detached structures may also set precedent. There would not appear to be a lack of reasonable return for the request for a variance to legalize the metal frame structure with canopy top, as the applicant did not secure a permit before constructing the structure that may have allowed the structure to be considered grandfathered or legal non-conforming. Staff is concerned that the request to legalize the metal frame structure may also set precedents. Uniqueness: the request to build 5 feet into the required front yard may not have a negative impact on the area due to the large lots averaging from 1 acre to 2 acres, which would appear to minimize the potential negative effect of the request. However, staff is concerned that the approval of the request to construct a garage 5 feet into the required front yard could set precedents. The request to have 536 square feet over the maximum detached accessory structure footage may not have a negative impact on the area, also due to the large lots. However, approval of the request for a variance to exceed the maximum square footage of detached structure also may set precedents. The existing metal frame structure appears to have been constructed prior to the amendment of the ordinance in 2004, making them illegal within the city limits of Waterloo. However, there does not appear to be a permit on file, therefore the structure is illegal. Staff is concerned that approving the request to legalize the metal frame structure may also set precedents. Public considerations. There are no objections on file for these requests. Staff recommends that the request by Jeff Nielsen for a variance to construct an 18-foot by 30-foot accessory structure 5 foot into the required front yard and to exceed the maximum accessory square footage of 1,800 by 536 square feet for the total of 2,336 of accessory structures, and a variance to allow a metal frame carport type structure located at 930 West Downell Street be denied for the following reasons. The request for the variances would appear to set precedents. The applicant would appear to have other options that would not require issuance of a variance, and it would appear that multiple structures have been built or started to be built without first obtaining a building permit, and multiple structures do not meet various building code requirements.
Okay. Questions of staff?
Okay, you have on the agenda that Bob read that it's 376 square feet and it's 536. Is
Yeah, I
that
apologize.
correct?
We actually,
okay.
we actually
I
went
just want to
through
clarify.
in more detail of the site plan that was
Okay.
submitted in here and compared it with the pictures that I took on site, and we found that there were a couple of buildings not mentioned. I just forgot
And then
about
the amendment of the ordinance, was it in 2004 or 2005?
2004.
Okay, because that said 5.
It says here in item 2 that the applicant has other options that wouldn't require the variance. What are those options?
Well, as far as the garage, and the applicant's here, the reason for moving it 5 feet in front of the house was to allow for a pedestrian door to be installed. I believe, but that was the ideal location. I believe there's other ways you put the pedestrian door in the back. May not be the most convenient, but there probably are other ways of getting into the building without building out in front of the house.
Are you the owner? Yes. Would you like to come to the microphone and give us your name and address and then your reasons?
Jeff Nielsen, been at Iowa DOT for 28 years, lived in, bought my house in July 1985. Tried to do my best I can, sending 3 kids through Catholic school, and just do my best at Waterloo and try to make a nice place of, what I got. The reason, and I start out, I want to apologize, it was my fault. I made a mistake, I didn't come down and get a permit, I admit fault. I got a hold of some 6x8 posts that come off a pole building, original pole building that was in the ground for several years. These poles show no deterioration at all in them. They were 18 footers. I dug all the holes 4 foot deep by hand, and me and my boys stood 18 foot 6x8s up by hand, 14 of them. I did this last October, November. They've been in the ground for 7 months. As of 3 weeks ago, apparently, I have an idea who it is, but that's water under the bridge. But again, it's my fault. I moved it 5 foot forward because I was going to put a walk-in door going into it. There's a big bush right to the north of where it is. I'd have to take that down. I built a retaining wall on the east side out of a 70-pound block. So by rights, the post on the east side would be 5 foot in the ground. The post on the west side toward the other garage would be 4 foot in the ground. They are 4 foot in the ground. I am on solid bedrock. That's why the city of Waterloo couldn't build houses to the north of me. They hit bedrock at 2 foot. That's why that park will always be a park. There's going to be no housing area in that area unless they put houses there with no basements in them. Like I said, Miller Fence Company's right across the street from me. And the whole area is, solid bedrock in that area. But I got the trusses. I had the trusses bought. I had 2x12 24-foot 2x12s bought. I did have, I got those bought already sitting there, but I haven't touched it since then. I do a lot of work in, other than my house and homes. And my boy just got ran over by a car in Waterloo on his motorcycle and got injured. So it's been a rough month, but cousin's in a coma over a motorcycle accident up north, and I lost a cousin. So it's water in the pool.
Anyone have any questions of Mr. Nielsen?
Sorry to bother you.
Go ahead.
The buildings, let's see them. This here, I had a new canopy for this. On that was put up in 17 years. 2003, I bought my camper. I bought that the same year I bought my camper. I got a new canvas for it. And I just hadn't had a chance to put that up. Like I said, I bought that in 2003 to protect my camper, and it saved it from the last hailstorm too, to turn it in. The one built, there's a barn next to that gets demolished. I was gonna demo that. It's an old barn I wanna get rid of. And there was another building, and one in the back was originally, there was one there. And then the one way down back, that's, I'm just gonna fix that one up.
If you get rid of that
Yeah.
one barn or whatever, how close does he get to
The, yeah.
1800?
Well, that little shed there next to the metal carport, that's only an 8x8.
It's already included.
Yeah,
It's not included in the 5.6.
right.
What is included, Eric? Because in this drawing, is this, because it's kind of hard to understand.
Right.
Those pictures.
Schrader with staff, yeah, everything else shown on that site plan is included except for the 8x8, or I think it's actually a 6x8, but whatever it is, 6x8, 8x8 shed. And then the playhouse is not included because the ordinance provides an exception for a playhouse type structure, but otherwise all of the other garages and sheds are included. There was a approximate 10 by 16 not shown on here that shows in the picture, which is what made the difference to the overage originally listed on the agenda versus what's listed in the staff report.
So, Mr. Nielsen, is there something that you can remove from the site so you can build this size of structure that you're trying to do?
The only reason I started is my dad turns 94 and he's by himself, and I need a room for my boat, but that's the only reason I was gonna put something like this up. And like I said, that's got a new canvas that was gonna get put on. Like I said, that was put up in 2003, so basically, I guess I turned myself in to the city is what I've done. And poles, let's see, the only reason I did is a bush right back there. There's a wall. I built a retaining wall. There's 2x12 sitting there. That I already bought. Could I eliminate? There was an old garage down back I was going to demo. I thought I'd fix that up. Another one I've been to demo.
So I have a question. So, I mean, I'm not saying we would approve it or not, but, I mean, you're in not compliance with those posts anyway, so those all would have to come out, correct? Are you understanding that? These 12-foot posts that you put in?
Yeah, if I can't get variance using posts, I'm going to just probably scrap everything, I guess.
This is
Well,
Schrader.
it's not a
That's
variance.
not a variance.
Yeah, this is Schrader with staff. The Board of Adjustment can grant variances to size, setbacks, things of that nature, but that post requirement is a building code requirement. They have no authority to grant a variance to that, and the building official has indicated that the building code does not allow those posts.
They never, he walked right by me, that's kind of where I was just, and Pat Morrissey come over and he looked the whole place over and he said, Jeff, I've known you've lived here for a long time, you've had your best place on Donald Street in the 80s when it was a nice street, and he said, you've done everything you possibly can to keep this place up and make it look nice, and he said, I don't see any problem with what you're doing, but he said that's up his point of view, but
But
Like I said, they were green treated. I asked if somebody could literally look at them, and they were painted because they come off a pole building, but they said no. But
So we can't.
I mean, it's gonna be, the building department's gonna say no, even if we granted you all these requests, you're not gonna be able to build it with
Right.
those posts.
Those posts.
I guess if I granted it, I guess I could buy a new post. I guess for you.
Yeah, that was our discussion, was that let's go ahead and go before the board, get whatever variances we can, and then you'll have to deal with the posts later and swap them out.
Can you move it 5 feet back so it?
You don't need
It's
that.
not in the front yard.
Yeah, so when you do remove all the posts and everything, is it, can you move it 5
Actually, my
foot back?
garage. Actually, first I was told the overhang on my house, and then he said no. I got 3 foot overhang in the front of my house, and then I went to the wall of my house. So my garage sits back a foot, so it's actually out 6 foot. So actually, I'm out 5 foot. I was gonna put a walk door there. Could I go back if I dig them all out by hand again? I guess I could. I could cut the bush down to the north. Because I already got the trusses built. That's why I went 18 by 30, because I got 30-foot trusses, so I could line it up for the front and go with the
Could you
two.
line it up to the back door?
I'd have to, the front 2 posts, I'm 75 foot away from the road. And if I go too far in the backyard, I'll be in my septic tank. No, I'm just kidding.
That's,
No, I
yeah,
got septic tank. I could move these 2, well, if I get any posts anyway, whatever. But I'd have to take these 2 and cut that bush down. There's a nice bush right there. And I could go put them actually in the back to keep my 30-foot trusses that I got.
Mr. Schrader with staff to just, make sure the board members are clear. There's essentially the 3 different variances here. Total size of accessory structures, the one structure being a metal framed structure, and then the one structure sending out 5 feet. So you kind of may want to review each of those. So like, for instance, depending on if you're willing to grant a variance to exceed 1,800 square feet, and if you are, by how much, would kind of dictate the setback as well. So, obviously, if they, can't get a variance to exceed 1,800, then the variance to go up 5 feet out becomes moot. If he gets a variance to exceed 1,800, but by a smaller amount than being requested, then there's obviously different ways that he could go about obtaining that. Demolishing other structures might be one way, but decreasing the size of this 18 by 30 would be another. And if he decreases the 30 to, say, down to 25, then that can leave the back end of it right where it is and puts the front end of it in line so it's not sticking out. Now, I understand he may not want to do that because he may need the 30 based on what it's going to be used for.
Well, I've already got the trusses bought, so they're 32 foot. They're 32 trusses, foot trusses, 2 foot overhang. So I've already got trusses built. That's why I built it 18 by 30.
The trusses are running the long way. It's kind of abnormal. Usually trusses would run the narrow dimension.
I think we've got a,
code issue?
Well, I wonder
Mine-
he needs to come back to us with a better plan.
well, I think my idea is we deny the request and let him come back with a new proposal
Yeah.
that is in compliance, that meets the setback, that meets the 1,800 feet, and no metal frame.
Then he doesn't have to come back.
Then he doesn't, none of that's gonna happen.
So there was a
Just come back to you guys, right? Or-
Yeah,
The permit process.
Not us.
right,
But not the board.
right.
Okay.
Because I think we'd be setting a lot of precedents. And
I know.
so that's my thoughts on
I
it.
agree.
Well, I'm kind of in agreement to a certain extent that I'm not going to approve the 5 foot vote to approve the 5 foot, when you could move move it back. I might be willing to approve a little larger than 1,800 feet,
But not 500.
but not 500.
That's darn near.
And I guess I'm kind of, I don't know what to say about the metal structure in the back, but the fact that it wasn't built with a building permit, I guess I don't want to set a precedence on that either, so.
No, I agree.
But if we deny it, doesn't he have to wait a certain period of time to come back?
But he might not have to come
Yeah.
back if he complies with everything that,
But if he complies and gets permits, then
I-
he's okay, and he doesn't need a variance.
Well, I understand, but it doesn't sound like he wants to go down to 1,800 square feet.
well, if you remove something, he can. It would be the same size building.
Yeah, otherwise there would be a waiting period if denied if you wanted to resubmit.
So Jeff, I got a question. So this garage in the back, you really want to save that one? You can't get rid of that one? Or
That was my first plan. I was gonna demo that one. I wanted to get rid of it.
Yeah.
pretty bad shape, I mean.
Is that the 240 square foot
Because you're
one?
only,
That one, yeah, that one's in
12 by
the,
20?
yeah, 12 by 20.
Yeah, so that's way back here.
536
Yeah.
minus 240.
Mhm. So that brings you down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then the shed, which isn't much.
Is the metal building count in that 1,800
Yes.
now?
Yep. I don't think we can do anything. I think we just
Not
need to
today.
deny it.
get back into compliance. And he can build what he wants.
So in 2003, the law was, or the code was passed for carports and stuff?
2004.
Or 2004, excuse me.
Yep. Okay, do we have a,
Yeah, so any legally built carport structure built before that ordinance would pass would have been grandfathered in, but it would have had to have been legally built, which would include having a building permit.
do we have a motion?
So is it me? I will make a motion that we deny the request for constructing an 18 by 30 foot accessory structure 5 feet into the required front yard and to exceed the maximum accessory square footage of 1,800 by 536 square feet for a total of 2336 of accessory structures, and a variance to allow the metal frame carport structure located at 930 West Donald Street be denied. The request does not appear to, the request for the variance would appear to set precedent. The applicant would appear to have other options that would not require issuance of variances, and it would appear that multiple structures have been built or started to be built without first obtaining a building permit, and multiple structures do not meet various building code requirements.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to deny. All those in favor of the motion to deny signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. That motion carries and the request is denied. So where you're at is you can come back to the city for permits for right-sized buildings, et cetera. If you demolish some buildings, you can probably meet that 1,800 square.
So I'm at stay at my 1,800 square foot. I can't go over anything over that?
Right now. You can request another variance,
And then pay $225 again?
I would imagine, yes. And then you would still have a waiting period.
Yeah,
But if you just got permits for that 1,800 square feet or under with all your accessory buildings. The ones he's got up, even though he didn't have permits, those are, you're not requiring him to tear them down, are you? Or are you?
This is Schrader with staff. The metal frame structure would have to be removed. There's probably at least one other structure on the property that would have to have a permit obtained, and then they would have to obtain a permit for whatever modified version of this structure that would meet both zoning and building code requirements.
So 17 years later, I turned myself in basically doing this, what I did, because I live on a busy street.
Well,
Basically, that's what I did.
So, Mr. Nielsen, we're sorry for everything that's happened in the last 30 days, but, you know, we have to comply by what
No, that's fine.
the law is,
That's
so,
basically,
yeah.
that's basically what I
Yeah.
did.
So
you know.
thank you for understanding.
You know, and, you know, this is way off the beaten path. Last year when the city of Waterloo was going under water, they located the city of Waterloo out the DOT shop, and they put them way in the back corner. No bathrooms, nothing. Who do you think got on the phone? They did not want to let these people sandbags outside, or they said leave them outside. They can sand them out, or bag sands outside. I spent my time, made a phone call, got the whole setup inside the state building. They weren't going to let do that, but that's water under the bridge. But I understand.
Well, you have good intentions. Sorry, we're just by
No, that's
with
right.
the laws.
No.
Okay. Discussion, Sue? Do you have any more questions or comments, sir?
No, so I basically got to tear down everything I got there. The poles got to come, the carport's got to go.
You know, you're gonna have to talk with the building department on that. We don't have anything to do with that. You requested a variance and we've denied it,
Yeah.
so now you have to go back to the city building department.
I ain't gonna keep paying money, I'll just tear it all down. Thanks.
Okay, sir.
Okay, Sue, discussion items.
I changed banks.
She's
Yes,
tending.
I saw that in the paper with the half-page ads.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm no longer located in Waterloo. My official office is in Denver.
You
So
don't
does
live
that
in Waterloo?
kick me off?
No.
I just worked in Waterloo.
So
We used to own a
she's
building in
recently-
Waterloo, but we sold that.
Is there like a period of time she can stay?
Can we issue her a variance?
I'm done in December.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so we can review that with the mayor's office. The position does generally require that you either reside or work within the city of Waterloo, but that can be something that could be looked at if there would be a time frame before resignation of the position. And like you said, if you're up in December, that's not really that far out anyway, but we can look at that.
And I do a lot of business here.
I've told you that before. I
Like a
don't remember
permanent
that.
resident on this
I think
board.
it says on
Yeah.
the call sheet there, actually.
She's got at least 6 more years.
No, I don't think she
Yes,
has
sir.
6 years left, but
What is on the
Sorry
call
about
sheet?
it.
That's okay.
I've lived here, like I said, since '85, and I've seen the house next to me. That will, let's see, work the record, that's a 30 by 30 garage. Added on with posts that big, about 20 years ago. Stuck in the ground, the whole garage, it's not treated wood, old barn wood. That's about that deep in the ground underneath. The septic tank put bad in here, he dug a big hole, perforated pipe, stuck it in the ground, buried, and that was a secret shed. But that's the kind of stuff I've seen go on in this town. But yeah.
Well, we-
Turn them in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let the right people
you
know.
We're not in favor of that either, but our job as the Board of Adjustment is to issue the variances.
So if you're trying to get a variance for over 1,800 square foot, still do that possibly in the future?
You could, yes.
I would think you would
I
have
get my glasses.
a sympathetic ear to
Yes.
Mayor.
the variance somewhat over the 1,800. I'm not saying 500, but you might have 100 or 200
100 feet.
ability,
But-
sympathetic ear to bring it back.
But if you tear down some of those dilapidated, those older buildings that are not in good shape, that you know, you could probably build this other one a little bigger and move everything into one.
Send your kids through Columbus, that's $1,800 a year, in college and everything else. I'll do the best I can in life. I try to make my place look nice, all I do is film, but, thank you.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.